In WWE 2k19's My Career mode, should you forgive Baron Blade when the opportunity presents itself? What's up guys, Acer Thorn here, and welcome to another video game story analysis video. Before I answer that question, let me give a quick plot synopsis for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about. Spoiler warning for anyone who hasn't played the My Career mode of this game. You begin WWE 2k19's My Career mode as a financially downridden indie wrestler who literally lives in his father's old work van. There's actually a brief moment when the back door to the van is open, and for a split second you can actually see inside it, and notice that there's actually a mattress that your character sleeps on.
Everywhere he goes, his dad's old work van goes. He practically lives in that thing.
Yeah, practically.
It's so bad teacher's pet over here has to live in his van.
I thought that was a joke.
I only live in it when times are tough, which is most of the time.
One day, however, fortune calls, and Matt Bloom appears at one of your shows and invites you to a WWE tryout match. You get offered an NXT contract by Triple H, only for you to get attacked by a masked man later that night. Triple H is worried about how this fight would affect WWE's public relations, and so he withdraws his contract offer, forcing you back to the Indies.
Less than 24 hours after we offer you the opportunity of a lifetime, you get into a fight with a fan outside a WWE event, and there's video. We can't have our WWE superstars getting into fights with fans, and it will not be tolerated. I'm rescinding the contract offer.
You eventually find out that the man who attacked you was none other than Baron Blade himself. Your character, now nicknamed Buzz, is understandably furious at Baron for costing him his dream. Fortunately, Buzz's meteoric rise in popularity on the Indies has finally landed him that spot on the main roster that he wanted so badly. So you begin your work on the main roster, winning championship after championship, winning big match after big match, slowly earning the respect of your colleagues one match at a time. All the while, podcasts as well as messages from Baron himself show that Baron's career is going in the complete opposite direction as he eventually goes bankrupt. You eventually win the Universal title, only to lose it to AJ Styles, who turns on you and cashes in his Money in the Bank briefcase against you. To solidify his heel turn, AJ brings in Baron Blade. However, Baron explains that he deserves the hardship he's suffered, and believes that AJ's actions were even more heinous than his were. This causes AJ to snap and starts beating up Baron, prompting Buzz to come to his rescue. It's at this point that you have to make a decision. Forgive Baron Blade, or turn your back on him and walk away. This is the big moral decision of the game's campaign mode, and it's one that I aim to explore in depth today. First, let's discuss the reasons why you shouldn't forgive him. The first one is obvious. What he did was absolutely selfish. He cost Buzz, potentially forever, as far as he knew at the time, his dream of being a WWE superstar, and for what? So he could continue to use you as his promotion's top draw.
I attacked you after your WWE tryout because I didn't want to lose you. Without you, BCW wouldn't last.
Baron tells AJ that AJ's actions were even worse than his, and that Baron had good intentions, albeit with less than ideal results.
What you and Finn Balor did to Buzz was far worse than anything I did. At least I had good intentions.
But nothing could be further from the truth. Baron's actions were done solely to keep his own meal ticket. Sure, AJ's actions were also done to advance his own career at Buzz's expense, but the biggest difference there is that wrestlers on the WWE roster are expected to attack, backstab, and double-cross each other to get to the top. That's just part of the business.
Hey, I was shocked like everyone else, but I get it, okay?
What?
When it comes down to it, WWE is every man for himself. It's like my old buddy Stone Cold Steve Austin used to say, DTA, don't trust anybody. AJ Styles had the Money in the Bank briefcase, okay? What was he supposed to do? Just hang on to it forever and never cash it in? It's all about that Universal title, okay? AJ Styles has a family to support, and if he's champion, that means he can support his family better and longer.
By contrast, Baron might have been your employer in BCW, but at the moment he attacked you, he was acting as your manager and your agent. In other words, he was acting in a capacity where he was expected to advocate for Buzz's best interests, not his own. This is the primary difference between Baron's actions and AJ's, and what causes Baron's actions to be worse. Baron wasn't supposed to be out for himself, whereas AJ was. Another reason not to forgive Baron is because, if you don't, his role of being in your corner will instead be taken up by Cole Quinn. I haven't mentioned him up until now, but for the 1% of you who are watching this video without having played the game yet, he's another one of the wrestlers from BCW. He starts out as a grade A jerkwad, but he and Buzz quickly become best friends. In many ways, he's the opposite of Baron Blade. Baron began as your trusted mentor and manager only to eventually betray you, whereas Cole Quinn started out as an adversary only to grow into a lovable dork. My point is that Cole Quinn arguably deserves this WrestleMania cameo more than Baron does, seeing as he never betrayed you, well, except that time when he joined Bray Wyatt, but he was brainwashed in that case, so it doesn't count. If you want Cole Quinn to have that WrestleMania cameo, you have to refuse to forgive Baron Blade. The game is set up so that you can't have both at the same time, you have to choose one or the other. That about does it for the reasons you shouldn't forgive him. What about the reasons why you should? Well, for starters, Baron is genuinely remorseful. All throughout the game's campaign, he expresses nothing but remorse and guilt for what he did. No matter how much financial hardship he finds himself in, he never blames anyone but himself.
I was the one who attacked Buzz after his tryout match and cost him his shot at WWE. But I can't stand out here and bury my former protege. Not a day goes by where I don't wish that I could take back my actions, and honestly, I deserve everything that's happened to me because of it.
In fact, not only does Baron regret doing what he did, he regrets it almost instantly. The very next day, when you're in Triple H's office getting your ass wrung, even as early as that, Baron is still advocating for your side.
This is what I get for trying to do business with one of your guys, Baron.
Come on, Hunter. Can't you just fine him or something?
No, because I can't fine him if he's not on the active roster.
Another strong argument in his favor is that he has already suffered immensely for his actions. Once he was exposed, nobody trusted him ever again. He became financially broken as he desperately tried to keep BCW open with his own personal wealth. But he was only delaying the inevitable, because he had completely destroyed his own credibility and trustworthiness. The only wrestlers willing to work for him were probably really crappy wrestlers who were desperate to get booked literally wherever they could, and their crappy wrestling brought down the quality of BCW shows, which in turn caused ratings to plummet. This ultimately resulted in BCW going out of business.
I have it on good authority that BCW will be closing its doors, and all future scheduled events have been canceled after Baron's double cross of his protege Buzz played out in front of a worldwide audience on NXT. Not too many wrestlers, or fans for that matter, were lining up to do business with Baron. Reports are that attendance dropped drastically, and debts were owed to various wrestlers and companies, which led to Baron trying to right the sinking ship with his own personal finances, even putting his house on the market.
I don't know if you heard, but I had to close the doors on BCW. Attendance took a big hit without you and Cole, and I guess some people didn't want to work with me anymore. Apparently, controversy doesn't always create cash.
So by the time you have the option of forgiving Baron, the damage has already been done. Refusing to forgive Baron won't be justice at that point, because karma has already inflicted justice upon him for you. You refusing to forgive Baron is just salt in the wound at that point. A third reason why you might want to forgive him is because Buzz himself would probably have forgiven him. Now, obviously, you are Buzz in this game, but think about the way the game actually portrays Buzz as a character. Yes, you can obtain various heel-related abilities like Dirty Pin and Remove the Turnbuckle, and use those abilities in your matches. Yes, you can knock out the referee and then pummel your opponent with a weapon, but in the cutscenes, Buzz is portrayed as a white meat babyface.
I'm not gonna let this title sit on a shelf and collect dust. Oh no, I'm gonna defend it every chance I get. That's why starting tonight, I'm bringing back the US title Open Challenge. I wanted to defend the title and give you hard-fought, competitive, and fair matches every week, but that's been impossible lately. Let me give you one reason why you're not facing Cena. Because we've seen that match over and over.
Because of the way Buzz is portrayed in this game, it only makes sense that he would forgive Baron. It seems kind of superfluous that the game even so much as gives you the option to do so, considering that this is the only option in the entire campaign that has any real meaning or consequence. I wonder if they originally wrote the story so that Buzz would just forgive Baron without any input from the player, and then changed it at the last minute to give the player this option. In addition to that, it was clear that Baron and Blade genuinely cared about his wrestlers. Many wrestling promoters in the real world, especially those on the indie circuit, see wrestlers as mere assets. Baron sees his wrestlers as an extension of his family.
I didn't want to lose my protege. You're like a son to me.
For example, when BCW explodes in popularity, he gladly shares the wealth when he promises lucrative bonus checks to both Buzz and Cole. He didn't have to do that. They were already under contract to wrestle for him, but even if their contracts entitle them to contingency royalties for the success of their shows, I highly doubt that it also calls for Baron to pay for the damage to Buzz's windshield. That's something Baron definitely didn't have to do. A fifth reason you should forgive Baron is because forgiving him would be thematically appropriate. There is a clear main theme in this game's story, and that theme is the cycle of hate. Every major character in this story is part of that cycle, but most of them usually take some action to break the cycle. Cole starts out hating you for some unknown reason, but he breaks that cycle when he becomes your friend. Triple H swears eternal hatred and vindictiveness against you because you humiliated him at NXT.
You might have been bailed out this time, but I will never forget what you did. I'd never forget what you did. I told you I'd never forget what you did.
But even he eventually breaks the cycle of hate by WrestleMania when he calls your match right down the middle and shakes your hand afterwards. Buzz has a grudge of his own to hold. Forgiving Baron and breaking the cycle of hate for yourself would bring the story full circle. Forgiving Baron would create a perfect trifecta of thematic symmetry. Those are all interesting reasons why Baron should or shouldn't be forgiven. But here is the reason that I personally consider to be the most important one of them all. Baron's betrayal of you inadvertently had a beneficial impact on your career. Yeah, think about that for a minute. As soon as your original NXT contract offer gets pulled, Buzz becomes an overnight sensation. Fans all over the nation want to see Buzz in action, which leads to an explosion of BCW ticket sales and ratings. Think about it this way. If Baron had just allowed you to head off to NXT, it might have been several years before you got called up to the main roster, if you even made it that far. Baron Blade himself even says as much during a podcast.
Jack, you've been in this business for a long time, so you know it was once possible for a wrestler to be successful outside the WWE umbrella. And that's what I'm trying to do with BCW and Buzz. Who knows what would have happened if Buzz signed with NXT? It might have been 2 or 3 years before he was called up to Raw or SmackDown, and there's no guaranteeing that would have even happened at all. But I'm helping him make his own success right now.
In addition, all the other guys in BCW got huge boosts to their standards of living. The only other BCW wrestler we ever see is Cole Quinn, and he becomes rich enough thanks to BCW's boom in popularity that he can even afford jet skis for himself. Yeah, multiple jet skis. After Baron is exposed, Cole has a steady flow of work in Japanese wrestling, where he is on a meteoric rise in popularity just as much as Buzz is in America.
Your opponent tonight has been creating quite the buzz of his own recently, as one of this country's hottest new stars.
If Baron hadn't betrayed Buzz, then Buzz might have gone to NXT, but everyone else at BCW probably would have just continued wrestling in high school gyms for peanuts. Then again, Cole Quinn probably would have stayed an a-hole instead of becoming the likable guy he became, so maybe he would have deserved to continue his life of mediocrity. I don't know. Figure that one out for yourselves. This obviously was not Baron's intention. Baron's intention when he attacked Buzz was purely selfish. However, just as good intentions do not necessarily translate into good outcomes, a bad motive likewise does not undermine what his actions nevertheless achieved. So now that we've discussed in detail the reasons for and against forgiving Baron, what is my opinion? I personally believe that you should forgive him. Granted, that could just be my own religious upbringing speaking, but I believe in forgiveness as long as the person who wronged you is truly sorry for what he did, and in this case, Baron certainly meets that requirement. The fact that he inadvertently did good for your career by attempting to sabotage it adds fuel to the fire. And that will do it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Also check out my other story analysis videos, as well as my playthrough of WWE 2k19's My Career mode by clicking on the elements you see on screen. Last but not least, be sure to hit that subscribe button to see more in-depth analysis of your favorite games, as well as my hilarious Let's Play shenanigans. In the meantime, however, I am Acer Thorn, and I will see you guys later.